Our Torah portion introduced us to the Jewish legal system, as reflected in the opening words, Elah Mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. Now these are the ordinances which thou shalt set before them. The last words of this verse, lifnehem, before them, presents us with a difficulty. Laws, mishpatim, are meant to be given lachem, to them. What's with this lifnehem, before them? Let me answer this question by asking you another question. What does Judaism have to say about capital punishment? Are we in favor of the death penalty? Well, if you look in this week's Torah portion, the answer is obvious. We are told, Maka ish v'meis, if a man hits another man and that man dies, most you must, the attacker is to be put to death. If one hits his mother or father, he's put to death. If a man is found guilty of kidnapping, most you must, he's to be put to death. If one curses his parents, most you must, he's been put to death. On and on. It's quite clear that Judaism does believe in capital punishment. And yet, most incredibly, the Talmud tells us if a court put to death one man in 70 years, it was considered a bloodthirsty court. How are we to understand this? The key to understanding the opening verse of our Torah reading and this question regarding capital punishment can be found in the story about the wise men of Chelm. You remember the wise men of Chelm? The people of this town were your classic example of simple-mindedness run wild. They represent all those who believe that they're wise, but in fact are easy prey to the common foibles of mankind. So listen to this story. One of the main thoroughfares leading into the town of Chelm was a winding road carved out of the side of a mountain. Because there were no guardrails on this road, as people in their horse and buggies came speeding down the mountain, their horses could not negotiate the steep turns and would run off the road, falling into the bottom of the mountain, causing severe injury to many, many people. So in an emergency meeting of the Jewish Community Council of Chelm, a meeting found a solution to this serious problem. After much debate, and in keeping with age-old tradition, a committee was appointed. And after careful research and deliberation, they came back with a motion that won immediate and unanimous approval of the wise men of Chelm. The motion read, whereas the road leading down the mountain has no guardrails, and whereas this leads many people to fall off the mountain, causing serious injury, we hereby resolve that a hospital be built at the bottom of the mountain. This story represents an approach. How do you deal with problems? You deal with them after the fact. Judaism takes a different approach, as reflected in those opening words of the Torah portion. These are the laws which you shall set before them. Before the problem arises, know these laws, for they are meant to be preventive, not punitive. You think Judaism really advocated killing a child who cursed or even hit his parent? Judaism's intention was that from year to year, You should learn he who hits a parent shall die. He who curses a parent shall die, in the hope that the seriousness of this punishment would prevent the problem from ever occurring. No different from our threatening our children with the words, if you run in the street, if you come home too late, I'll kill you. If, however, after placing these laws before the Jewish people, you were still to commit such crimes, it was necessary for the court to show compassion and mercy. The whole thrust of Judaism is confronting problems before they arise rather than after they occur, in building guardrails rather than hospitals. I thought of this as I followed the news of the devastation caused by fires in California. As all this unfolded, a colleague of mine wrote, was it really such a surprise? It felt like watching a slow motion train wreck that everyone knew was coming, but few seemed to have tried to stop. The colleague concluded wildfires in Southern California are as predictable as bumper to bumper on 405. The dry bush, gusty winds, rising temperatures create a perfect storm every single year. So why does the response seem so hazardous, haphazardous, amateurish when the fires inevitably start? People in California disregarded the guardrails and ended up in hospitals. Same thing happened in New Orleans, remember? January 1st, a man drove a pickup truck into a crowd, engaged in a shootout with police, which ended with 15 people being killed, 57 others injured. It was later realized the whole attack could have been prevented. Federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies warned New Orleans police about potential vehicle ramming attacks, urged increased security in the area, and that didn't happen. These words should keep us in mind when we hear officials from the upper echelons of government question the use of what might be the most potent force of prevention we have. It's called vaccines. You hear all sorts of garbage from people who don't know, citing incidents where vaccines haven't been effective. But listen to these words that I got out of a medical journal. In the last 30 years alone, children's vaccines have prevented more than 500 million cases of disease, 32 million hospitalizations, and more than 1 million deaths in the United States have been prevented because of vaccines. Those figures do not include the incalculable number of lives that have been saved and hospital stays that have been avoided by the total eradication of smallpox and virtual eradication of polio. See, after all is said and done, What is a vaccine? It's a form of preventive medicine, an approach that our Torah portion teaches us to take. And this is not just an issue regarding vaccines. Ela hamishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. These are laws which you have set before them, before the inevitable storms of life. We should do everything possible to help prevent them, not just out there with regard to viruses and the climate, but also in our homes with our spouses and our children as well. Over 400 years ago, Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. God has taught us that lesson 3,000 years ago in this morning's Torah portion. Let's react to the lesson now as the Jews did then by proclaiming Naseh v'nishma. We shall do and we shall listen. Shabbat Shalom.